Disclaimer! Crossing the Line is not a show intended to bully or harass anyone. Do not go out of your way to find or mess with the authors featured on our podcast. They make what we do possible, and we love them. And you. Thanks. Enjoy. We greet you here on Christmas Eve, probably not actually Christmas Eve, to tell you about... to read fan fiction, as we do. But this time, it's another holiday, so we're going to be writing our own and passing it around the fire, giving gifts of fan fiction to each other, as we do. Can't wait to get started. First off, the Christmas question of the day. Steven, if you had to make a sequel to one claymation Christmas movie classic, what would it be?
I'd make it a sequel to A Miser Brothers Christmas, of course.
It's already a sequel.
No, I mean
that's the sequel.
No, I mean it has to be from an original. It can't be from like a newer one.
The Miser Brothers Christmas is a sequel to the original.
So it can't be a sequel of a sequel.
No, that'd be like saying a sequel to Rudolph's Shiny New Year.
Okay. All right, then in that case, I'd do a sequel to Jack Frost Christmas in July.
What would happen in that movie?
Jack Frost will fucking melt, and this time he won't come back. And it'll be intentional.
Is that how it ends?
He becomes a frat. No, it's you see, Frosty becomes a frat boy who sleeps. Who
sleeps?
Yeah, every Christmas he goes. Every Christmas he becomes a frat boy and like skeezes on someone's couch. And like every time he's about to melt on their couch, they have to let him out so he can refresh and come back in. But this time he's at like fucking what's his name, Bill Cosby's house, and Bill Cosby's like, I've been through a lot right now, so I'm not letting you back in. He's like, Bill, let me out. And then you see him melt, and that's the end.
So your plot is that Frosty. I thought you were talking about Jack Frost.
No, Frosty
the Snowman.
Frosty the Snowman.
There was a
Christmas
claymation?
in July. Yeah, it was him and Rudolph. It was a Rankin Bass cinematic universe sort of deal where him and Rudolph have a Christmas in July.
So your story is that he ultimately melts and does die, but he tries to stay at Bill Cosby's house.
He melts because he's trying to stay at Bill Cosby's house. But he like has to get out to refresh himself in the snow in the middle of July for some reason. And then Bill Cosby is like depressed because he's been through a lot, so he's like, I'm not letting you out.
Does Frosty sleep? Imagine that he's on your couch sleeping, and you know that he's asleep, so he's not moving, but you know that he will be alive.
He doesn't sleep. He just closes his eyes and pretends, and he doesn't tell you.
Does he get everything wet but never melt?
Yeah. He ruins your
That's
couch.
awful. Imagine like your couch being always wet.
God.
Poor Bill Cosby.
And he's so big, he just take up the whole thing.
You think that's why Bill Cosby started saying,
You think that's why he did what he did?
That's right. He didn't say anything. He's not one of those allegations. That's what he did.
Yeah.
That's why he did that a long time ago. And he tried to explain. He was mumbling in the court. He's like, there was a snowman on my couch. And they're like, yeah, but did you? It's like, it's not important. There was a snowman on my couch. You don't understand the stress an old man goes through. I mean, a young, at the time, man goes through.
Oh, the couch and the snowman and the
Are you okay, old man? Why are you trying to get... How is this an excuse? What does this have to do with the allegations?
I hate Frosty. Why are you talking about him?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Crossing the Line, a fanfiction podcast where we read, review, and critique fanfiction for your listening pleasure. We've hit the holiday season. Hope you're enjoying yourself, having a nice night, wrapped up in a warm blanket with a cup of hot cocoa. We here at the Crossing House just put up our Christmas tree. It's looking pretty dandy tonight. So we thought we would settle around the fire, but not really, because that's a lot of work. So we settle around the living room, and we're going to give gifts to each other. What gifts, you ask? The gift of fan fiction that we wrote because we're geniuses, and we're better than anyone else on that website could ever be. So we're going to prove that in this very special Chanukah special.
Alright, so... Who went first last holiday?
Let's see.
George did, and he read mine. And so... Steven read last.
Yeah.
Should go first.
Okay. let's see, who's got a gift for me?
You read George's last time, so that means you have to read mine.
Okay.
Here you go.
Oh, you wrapped it all nicely for him.
Oh, you sure did. Look at
Of
it.
course.
Tear into that mother. Get in there! Get in there!
Save my wrapping paper?
A lot on here.
That's good Foley. What did you get?
I got a story. Oh!
Merry Christmas.
Oh, thank you.
My face feels kind of hot. I hope I'm not coming down with something.
With the Christmas spirit?
You know, my dad was trying to write us a children's story back in the Beyond.
Really?
It was called The Cheek Sneak. It was this man in black that would come into the house and steal the rosy red cheeks off of children so they would wake up pale.
So it was black?
It's scary.
No, he was wearing black.
Like, I'm wondering what that's an allegory for.
What do you mean?
Nothing.
Children's pureness and elegance and something.
So that sounds bad. I don't like where that's...
Yeah.
I'm sure it was a good story.
Well, I'm gonna read
Maybe
the
we'll
story.
get that on the podcast.
That'd be nice.
The Cheek Sneak written by George's dad.
We'll find it on fanfiction.net one day.
The Biggie special.
We just have our dads come do an episode instead of us.
My
There
dad
we
would not
go.
do that.
Oh my
Steven's
god.
dad would be more than happy to do that. Just don't tell him you're recording.
Oh my god.
Like, what we're reading today? Okay, I love telling tall tales.
I love telling.
Remember this one? I love my son.
Tells that story for 30 minutes.
Wastes our fucking time. Alright.
Elias, make fun of your dad now. What's the matter? He's not gonna come get you.
I'll just send him the story and ask him to read it back to me and for proofread. Hey Dad, I'm writing some fan fiction. I need you to read it back to me to make sure it's okay. He'd be like, okay. And he'd read it to me for 30 minutes and say, is that good? And I'll say, yep, perfect, bye. And then we can cut in ourselves talking while he's reading the story whenever it's appropriate.
You just cut out Steven reading it and splicing your dad, and then put us laughing over it.
Goes to dub the readings that our dads do.
All right, Steven, why don't you show us the nice little gift you got?
I'm gonna tear into this prison. Alright. Peeking out through the window down the dark morning.
Wait! Does anybody have any Christmas tales of past they would like to say before we jump in?
Oh, okay.
To make this a little more Christmassy?
Christmas
Any Christmas
tales.
memories?
I do. So, it's it's funny, I should have said this when we were talking about my dad, but nonetheless, it's a dad story yet again. One Christmas, I really wanted to see Santa Claus and whatnot, and I really liked staying up all night when I was like super young. So, and my dad realized this. So one Christmas Eve, he literally stayed up all night, and he made sure my ass went to sleep because I kept getting out of bed and checking on the Christmas tree for presents and whatnot, and he kept having to get out of bed and take me back to make sure I went to bed. So then finally he just like sat on the couch and stayed up all the rest of the damn night. And then in the morning when I woke up and I came out, I was like, where's Santa? He looked at me and he's like in fucking boxer shorts and nothing else and a Santa hat, and he said, he left. And that's Merry Christmas. And that like always stuck with me.
That's funny. My dad never did anything like that.
But
My dad usually left the house on Christmas.
oh crap. He was making sure.
He was off doing something. He's probably fine.
Yeah. How about you, Elias?
My dad's very no BS, so my sister would say stuff as we were a little bit older, but not too much older, like, Dad, is Santa gonna bring any presents? And my dad would be like, shut up, idiot. You know Santa's not real. Go back to bed.
Damn.
Something like that. And she'd be like, Dad, you're no fun. Why don't you play Santa? And he's like, shut up. Go to bed. That's my dad and sister's relationship summed up in a skit.
That's true. I've been there for it.
Oh my goodness.
She would say one thing and he would say shut up and laugh.
It's true. I don't believe he's ever really said my real name. I believe every time I've met him, he's always called me Suspenders. Because I remember specifically, in high school I used to wear suspenders because I just liked them better than wearing a belt. But nonetheless, one day I was leaving Elias's house from a sleepover, and he said goodbye to me as I was leaving. He said, "Hey, have a good day, Suspenders," as my dad left with me. That was fun.
Okay, those were good stories. I'm sorry I derailed the podcast.
It's fine, it's fine. Alright, to the present.
The present.
The present.
Whoa.
Not the past or the future, but the present.
The present.
Are each of our stories going to have a past, present, and future theme?
I can format this as one.
Just ruin the story, hero.
Do either of you guys have any particular theme?
No. Mine's funny.
Alright. Don't get ahead of yourself, boss. Stick going.
I was thinking just earlier today of calling him Big Hoss at some point.
Why?
Because I remember we were at Elias's once, he said, "You gotta take a dump, Big Hoss," and it made me laugh. And you said very firmly and loudly, "Don't call me that!"
I don't like this.
Merry Christmas. Peeking out through the window, down the dark morning street, waiting for the sun to rise, a brown-haired boy with a tiny Santa hat and blue pajamas eagerly pats his hands down the windowsill. Come on, come on. The sun shoots up into the sky, destroying the moon with a rooster crow sound effect. It's Christmas! It's Christmas! Merry Christmas! After fishing out his goldfish to yell at them, the boy puts them back into the tank and runs to his parents' room. Jumping on the bed, he says again, "It's Christmas! It's Christmas! Merry Christmas!" The mom wakes up but says nothing. The dad starts to talk about how much he loves eggnog, but the boy ignores the sentiment, throws them out of bed towards the living room in one toss with a big smile. Looking over the railing, the three say, "Wow, I love Christmas. It's very cool." Then the boy jumps over the railing and into his fairy submarine because he has two fairies, Wanda and Cosmo, who are his fairy godparents. But
Because he has two fairies.
But it's spelled like Fairy Odd Parents.
Fairly Odd Parents.
I hate that you did it that way. You alluded to saying any names for so long. It's spelled like Fairly Odd Parents. Wanda has pink hair and an annoying and bad voice. Wanda often complains about things, but is ultimately ignored, rendering her useless. Unfortunately, since the boy has two fairies, the other one will just grant any wishes the first one refuses to. This makes the character Wanda, haha, nice pun, Butch Hartman. I bet you think that is really funny. You know it's not funny? Google Oaxis. What is
Topical.
this nonchalant stab at Butch in this Christmas story?
This spiteful narrator. You.
And then well, it's as the story goes. And then I talked about and then I made fun of Butch Hartman in spite of myself. This makes the character Wanda both unlikable and difficult to sympathize with, since you as the viewer will often side with the main character and be equally annoyed by her resistance to move the plot forward. Cosmo has green hair, Swimming around in the sea of presents, enamored with all there is to see and do, Timmy has his face pressed to the glass looking around, and a periscope looks out above. The submarine eventually merges, and the boy pops out in his underwear and a cowboy hat on.
Is this just a screening of the Christmas special? This is exactly how it goes.
The first half of this, the first, 2 paragraphs are just you being me. I love this. Oh my god, let's see. Keep in mind, before entering the submarine, he was wearing pajamas and a Santa hat. Did he make a silent wish to have his outfit in the submarine? Was there a cowboy hat waiting for him in the submarine? Did he change clothes inside the submarine with his face pressed to the glass? Is this outfit a reference to the New York guitar-playing street performer, cowboy in his underwear? And why in a children's television show? I love the smell of Christmas in the morning. Music begins. Christmas Day is here, wants gifts and love and joy galore. A special day that wipes the floor with every other 364. Jazzy music breakdown. I wish every day could be Christmas, cause Santa brings gifts every year. He's reading my list, he's reuniting the reindeer. He's hauling my gifts from North Pole to here. I'm trying. I wish every day could be Christmas, cause every other holiday reeks. New Year's Eve is for Mom and Dad. The Easter bunny eggs smell really bad. Valentine's Day always makes me sad because Timmy can't get a girlfriend. What? I wish every day could be Christmas because nice fairies get their rewards. I got pudding, I got slacks, I got my black hair waxed. Santa grants wishes while we relax, and Timmy still can't get a girlfriend. A few minutes of singing later. Won't Christmas Day be the coolest time of all? I wish it were Christmas. How I wish it were Christmas. I wish it were Christmas, and also that I was Dante from the Devil May Cry series. Each day.
I'm not happy.
Bonum, 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 bonum. Music ends. As the clock strikes 12:01, the fish look at each other. Cosmo says, "Well," he said, "I wish." Wanta says, "I know, I just wish he didn't." Then, just like that, the wish was granted. Dante jumped out of bed and said, "It's Christmas! Again!" I don't know how Dante sounds.
He's just like cool anime guy.
It's Christmas again.
He stinger dashed into his parents' room and jumped on the bed. "Wake up! It's Christmas!" The parents moved 90 degrees in one frame to a sitting position and said, No, you have to go to school and we have to work." Dante said, "No, you don't. Take a look." The parents pulled a sheet from their calendar only to reveal the next day was once again December 25th.
Stinger. It's so stupid. I know what it is.
The dad said, "Well, okay, the calendars never lied to me yet." Dante tossed them against the railing again, and they all looked down to see. Sure enough, the presents were back, and again the three said, "Wow, I love Christmas. It is very cool." Dante, one arm vaulted over the railing. Now being an adult man, he could do that, and into the presents. Dante said, "Jackpot," like he does in Devil May Cry 1, then dove deeper in. The fairies seemed confused. This was a big wish, and they were now without their powers, since Santa takes their powers away each Christmas Day. More importantly, they weren't supposed to be caring for kids over 13 years of age. They couldn't really leave now that they didn't have powers anyways, so they decided to see how this all played out. 4 days into Christmas, the house was snowed in, and Dante was starting to feel the fatigue. "This is a toy puddle. Where's my toy ocean?" he asked angrily, sitting cross-legged on the living room floor. Wanda hopped over, disguised as a Barbie doll. "Well, Dante, I'm sure Santa's doing the best he can." Cosmo chimed in, "He's never had to make presents for this many Christmases before." 15 days into Christmas and the snow is as high as most buildings downtown. Dante is stinger dashing through what streets have been snowplowed when he notices a TV stack in the window. Peering through the glass covering his eyes like goggles, he sees Chet You Betcha reporting on current events. Chet says, "This is terrible. We have entered week 3 of Christmas and all the stores are closed. All schools are closed and the military is trying to kill Santa." Dante wondered how Chet continued to report despite considering his office should be closed like any other. Dante also got sad because the military didn't get Christmas off and how they wanted to kill the funny red fat man. Wanda and Cosmo watched from a distance. The other holiday spirits were walking this way to beat up Dante for making a wish that ruined their holidays. Because the Christmas was going on forever, there would be no Easter Bunny, Big Baby New Year, or Jerry Seinfeld parody April Fool Man.
I hate Big Year Baby.
Jerry Seinfeld parody April
That's what he
Fool.
is.
He is, you're right.
What's the deal with that?
What's the deal with... Dante
Alright.
turned around to see a bunch of colorful monsters. One of them started talking like Jerry Seinfeld, and he smiled, saying, "A fight now and again does make life more interesting, don't you think?" He began to hit them with the blunt end of rebellion, his trusty longsword, until they ran off.
Jimmy's cool.
He was quick to do.
Those are all lines from the game.
I know.
On the way, spotting Wanda and Cosmo. I hate that they're not called Cosmo and Wanda. It does not roll off the tongue at all. I have to keep fixing myself. The Easter Bunny jumped up to grab them out of the sky. "A little magic is all we need to banish the fat man," the rabbit said. Dante, seeing this, tried to chase them down, but to his surprise they had a car and jumped in, quickly speeding off towards the North Pole. Dante's stinger dashed back home to his garage where his father, Darren Norris, kept a snowmobile. This is what he brought.
His parents just like accepted that Dante was their son in their house. They just like woke up one where this grown anime man's jumping on their bed saying it's Christmas again.
Oh my god.
You kidding me?
This was what he brought with all those voice acting roles in Naruto movies. He had such a unique voice. Such a shame his career really took off in the 2000s with Nickelodeon cartoons. I mean, the guy's getting old now, he suppose, but that's just how parents are, sadly. Shaking his sad Darren Norris facts from his head, he took off on the mobile, using what gas remained in the tank. He only got about 100 miles northeast of Nevada. Since most of the gas stations were snowed over, he had to go door to door asking if people could spare him any gas. This didn't really work, and he ended up pushing the mobile around for a few days before giving up. I mean, the holiday spirits had a car, and he had been wasting a lot of time. He decided to finally find help on MySpace, which in mid-2000s was now huge. He posed as a 16-year-old teen named Bonte and took some shirtless pictures with his hair covering his eyes in the snow and waited for the following to roll in. After a few more days, he had enough followers to send out a call for help. Being in the Midwest, a lot of kids had access to underage driving and quickly made their way out to let him borrow their parents' trucks and a bunch of gas.
A bunch of kids like went out to meet a shirtless man, give him their parents' car, their parents' truck, because it's the Midwest.
Named Bonte years before that meme ever existed.
He invented it.
Oh my god. He repeated his MySpace scam once crossing the border to Canada, which was conveniently unguarded. The consensus was, I don't know who this sad old man posing as a child for gas is, but we should help him out. Eventually, Dante made it to the North Pole. He busted down the door with a big kick, only to find the magic freaks duking it out. Shaking his head, Dante said, "I can already tell. Looks like this is gonna be one hell of a party." That's the end.
That's the end?
Yeah.
The end!
The fanfic classic where they ended as soon as something's about to happen.
No!
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
Woo! Yeah.
I would rate that story an S rank from only using stinger dashes.
It's
hard.
I rate that an entire nation's worth of stolen gas.
When they got to Canada, he tried to pull the same scam, but they just felt bad for him and gave him gas for free.
Hell yeah.
Why did he have to be Dante? And also, I want to be Dante from Devil May Cry.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ.
That's wonderful.
That was a beautiful tale.
Indeed. We gotta print that out and tell it every Christmas.
What's Santa got?
What's Santa got?
It's a present.
Oh.
It says it's for Elias.
Oh shit.
Wow.
Ah, that's a big one.
Ah.
Ooh.
What'd you get, son?
Oh boy. Fanfiction.
Ooh.
I knew you'd like it, baby boy.
Try it on.
Go ahead.
Try it on.
There we go. It's pretty good.
That's one ghetto bib you got going on there.
Alright.
You laugh now, but there's gonna be pieces forever stuck in there now.
Alright.
Alright. What's your present?
Let's see.
Yes. Go on. Indulge us.
The morning
With
light.
your Christmas spirit.
Yes.
The morning light crawls through the window, illuminating the otherwise dark bedroom. An alarm clock sounds off as a scrawny teenager rolls over in bed. After snoozing the alarm, he wipes his tired eyes, preparing to take on yet another day. Running his hands through his greasy black hair, Sheldon finds himself in the bathroom, looking at himself in the mirror. He brushed his teeth and combed his hair.
Not that, Sheldon.
Oh, okay.
While heading to his closet to grab his usual attire, he couldn't help but stop and look at the photos he had taped to the door. All of them beautiful. Who would have thought that a sentient blue robot could have been the one to have stolen his heart? Rifling through his wardrobe, he began to mumble to himself. I knew it was going to be that Sheldon as soon as I read the word Sheldon. I don't know why.
My mind went to Big Bang Theory.
No, it was inevitable. We haven't read a fanfiction about Sheldon yet. It's so easy.
That's true.
What does that mean?
He's the horny lover of Jenny the robot. Oh, Jenny, my sweet... What does he sound like? He sounds like...
He's like nasally. He's like, "Oh, Jenny, my sweet love."
Oh, Jenny, my sweet angel. Christmas is tomorrow, and I can't help but feel that no matter...
Dark.
Good enough.
Oh, Jenny, my sweet angel. Christmas is tomorrow, and I can't help but feel that no matter what, nothing I get will make me happy. Because nothing would make me happier than having you under my tree.
Then he got an idea. An awful idea. Sheldon got a wonderful, awful idea.
Oh.
Oh, I like that.
I don't like the image of his fucking lips
Yeah.
touching over his head. Oh my god.
As he sifted through a sock pile trying to find the least crusty Perrier, Sheldon's brain erased. Impressed with his own genius, he began typing away furiously at his computer, working on the project that will truly win over the love of his life, Jenny Wakeman. Waking up at a battery recharge station, XJ9 greets the world with a smile. Christmas is tomorrow. The spirit of giving made this by far her favorite time of year. The blue robot elegantly makes her way to jack into her PC to check all of her messages left from her night offline. Plugging in the jack to her cranial cavity, she begins to check for notifications. Scrolling through her email, she quickly deletes all the likely spam. Her mother Nora never let her live it down the last time she sent cash to a Nigerian prince. Suddenly, a new email popped up in her email. Free Fortnite V-Bucks, she read aloud.
I like
She didn't say it like that.
Voice. That's so funny.
Free Fortnite V-Bucks? She read aloud. Oh, how perfect. Brad loves playing that game. This would be a perfect gift for him.
I hate Brad.
He's always telling me how he won't be able to get any better at playing games without the V-Bucks.
Brad would play Fortnite. That's what pisses
Brad,
me off.
like, begging Jenny for V-Bucks.
He doesn't
Jenny.
beg her, he just tells her how he needs them.
Jenny.
You know, Jenny, I'd be pretty good at this game if I just had some more V-Bucks. As she scanned the email, she suddenly felt nauseous. Something had gone wrong. Her eyes suddenly faded. Before she knew it, she had lost consciousness. Through no force of her own, Jenny unplugged herself and began towards the door. Opening the front door, Brad and Tuck were outside, apparently waiting for her. Hiya, Jenny, Brad announced. You must be so excited for Christmas this year, right? Without even noticing the brothers, Jenny walked straight past without a word. She made her way down the street, leaving the carbuncles to wonder what had gotten into her. Whoa, something must have crawled up her butt this morning, Tuck claimed. His brother punched him on the shoulder. Cut that out, Brad. Cut that out, Brad said with the... I'm already forgetting which characters sound like what. Cut that out, Brad said with the demeaning tone. How about we check and see what went down? The two went inside the house and were greeted by Nora Wakeman. Merry Christmas Eve, boys. Care for some cocoa? No thanks, Mr. Wakeman. Do you have any idea what's up with Jenny? I didn't even have time to notice. I was busy working on an experiment and didn't realize she had left the house. Maybe she had a bad dream, offered Tuck. Don't be ridiculous, Nora replied. Robots can't dream. They don't have a consciousness when they go offline. She's probably just getting a visit from her Uncle Edison. Wait, you built a robot that can have a parrot? Tuck was quickly cut off by a swift backhand from his brother. We don't even talk about gross things that women do. Hold on. Let me, read this first. We don't ever talk about the gross things that women do. You know that? We are men. We will talk like men. Got it? Tuck simply whimpered and nodded.
It's his, 2-inch tall brother.
Oh, a period. Okay.
That was a smart joke.
Tuck simply whimpered and nodded. Nora gestured to the brothers to follow her into Jenny's bedroom.
That was good.
She began investigating her computers to try and find a solution to the problem. Oh, I swear, if she responded to another one of those Nigerian scams, those dirty people are always trying to get their hands on my daughter. My genius. Wait, look at that, interrupted Brad. Free V-Bucks! I can't believe she got so lucky! She didn't even play that game! Nora skims over the email, blatantly covered with virus links and spam. Without announcing her plan, she began analyzing the message to find its origins, all while Brad anxiously explained to Tuck the importance of V-Bucks in the modern-day gaming community. Bingo, got it, Nora exclaims. I've tracked the email back to its origins. This address is only a stone's throw away from here. Isn't that Sheldon's house? Brad pointed out. The three of them felt nauseous at the thought of the greasy-haired boy. Who knew what he could be doing with Jenny? Brad sighed as he went to the door. Let's go, Tuck. We have to take care of this, announced Brad. The two left the house. Nora returned to her work knowing all too well the ass-kicking that was about to be delivered. The carbuncles arrived at the dingy property and began to knock on the door. Brad began to shout, Sheldon, come out! We know you're in there! What did you do to Jenny? No response came from inside. Brad grabbed at the doorknob, trying to open the locked door. Aggravated, he let go to think of a new plan. At that moment, Tuck jammed a hairpin and turned the tumbler that kept the door safely locked. Brad looked down at his brother. Oh, look at that. We got a big man on campus, huh? Think you're so high I could pound you into the ground and no one would even bat an eye. Keep quiet. Two went inside.
He's heckling his little brother. Damn.
The two went inside. The sound of wind cutting through the air as a paint can tied to a rope came down and smashed Brad in the jaw. God, what the fuck? Calling his busted jaw, the taller brother looked up and saw a grease stain at the top of the stairs. He quickly ran upstairs. Ripping up the carpet, Brad stormed into the room. What he saw was absolutely abominable. Lying on the floor was a sweaty teenage boy in nothing but his underwear, holding a metallic princess in his arms, shivering. Leave us alone! Leave us alone! I can't even remember how he sounds, so I just freaking did so much Brad. Leave us alone, shouted Sheldon. Who do you think you are, trying to get in the way of true love?
This is Squidward.
No, he's so snotty because he's so horny he can't talk. You busted my jaw with your dumbass Home Alone gag! The tension in the air was suddenly cut by the sound of bells. Jingle bells. Before anyone could react, a loud thud was heard from the living room downstairs. Peeking their heads out of the room, they saw a shadow standing in the room. Making their way down, the trio were in awe. The room was filled with a holy glow that illuminated the otherwise dingy home. The large round man, coated in red, laughed merrily.
No way.
Muttered Brad. He's real.
Santa. He's real belches.
Santa's real.
Sheldon quickly ran over to the man in red, cowering behind... Sheldon cowers behind Santa. Santa, please, you gotta...
Santa, please, you gotta help me. These naughty children are trying to hurt me.
Santa patted the greasy head of the teenage boy. He's like, ugh, and began to speak while immediately wiping his hand off on the couch behind him. My boy, that little predicament is exactly why I'm here. You've been very, very naughty, Sheldon. You have committed fraud, which is an offense punishable by law. Not to mention your sick, twisted methods of finding love, as well as that other thing you do with your discharges. Your discharges.
It's called recycling, Santa. It's good for the body,
remarked Sheldon with an offended look on his face.
I hate that!
The point still stands, replied Santa.
I'm so mad you made a Christian joke in this day!
Christian's not the only person that recycles.
I would
He's
argue
just the
against
popular
that.
one.
You've been a bad boy, and I am here to personally kick your ass straight. Before he could retaliate, Santa threw Sheldon against the wall and punched him in the kidney. Throws him against the wall, runs up and like doof doof doof. Falling to the ground, Sheldon's side was used as a doormat against the big black boot belonging to Claus. The ass beating was so realistic and brutal, the animators didn't know how to do it in the show style, so they just cut away to Brad and Tuck cheering Santa on as he delivered a snowplow pile driver. Upstairs, Jenny finally regained consciousness. Being a robot, she has no sense of smell, and yet she still found her senses to be offended by the stench of the room. She quickly made her way downstairs to see what all the commotion was about. She was quick to make out exactly what happened to lead to this course of events.
Sheldon affected me with another virus, didn't he?
The way that like read was really weird.
Sheldon affected you with another virus again,
answered Brad. The two laughed as Santa manhandled the scrawny greaseball of a man. From outside the house we see the sun setting, implying that this wicked ass beating was an all-day event. Outside, Jenny and the carbuncles were waiting patiently. Santa emerges from the front door, wiping beads of sweat off his brow. Ho ho ho, Santa announced. That was a good beatdown. Now that we don't appreciate you doing this for us, Santa, replied Brad. But don't you have to get going? It's almost Christmas, and there are a lot of kids waiting for presents. You're right, shouted Santa. I got caught up in the holiday spirit and lost track of time. Oh, and here, these presents are for you. You have been good boys and girls, except for you, Tuck. Try not to be so much of a smartass next year, you hear? Santa dug in his sack and handed Jenny and Brad presents. He leaped to the roof and got in his sleigh. With the crack of his reins, the reindeer all took off. The robot girl waved. Goodbye, Santa. It was nice meeting you. I promise to always be a good girl. The sound of jingle bells and Santa's laughter filled the night sky. The sleigh cruised off into the horizon as snow began to fall. To everyone in Tremort, I just thought about him leaving a grease stain and scampering into his room again.
Gross.
Like shivering and holding this robot in his underwear. Gross. To everyone in Tremorton, a Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. And that's the end.
I rate that 3 instances of systemic oppression towards Tuck. That was great.
3 out of 3. I rate that Jenny's mom knowing exactly what was going to happen. Out of 10. Brad talks like a fast parody of like Ash from Pokemon, the animated series.
So we got a tough guy here.
The tough guy here, he thinks he knows what he's doing.
I guess he opened the damn door.
He says nothing, he just proceeds behind him. Okay. I know my place.
Oh my god.
I was gonna write more Home Alone gags than the Sheldon making bad home defense, but I couldn't be bothered to actually look up Home Alone scenes.
Yeah, the one paint can and then he ran away really fast.
So left a grease stain against the
He
wall.
goes, oh, what the fuck? And he's like,
Oh,
scampers
God.
off.
He thought that'd be enough.
Alright.
Alright.
One more story remains.
I got a gift for you, George.
Gimme. What is it? What is it?
What is it?
What is it?
What is it?
It's a fan fiction.
Oh, goody.
Ooh.
I love these. I'm gonna break the laptop.
No! I specifically bought that so I could put a fan fiction on it and gift it to you. And then take it back after you read the fan fiction.
Sorry.
It's the Christmas spirit.
Let's see what we got here in this old box of goodies here. 'Twas Christmas Eve night, and the silent sound of burning firewood and scent of freshly watered balsam were interrupted by the nasally ramblings of one Michael Mattei. Oh, my fucking foot, you son of a bitch! Oh!
What happened?
Motioned Mike, bitching about his apparent busted foot wrapped in scotch tape that was propped on the foot of his bed.
Why? Did he wrap his own foot in scotch tape? At that point, it wouldn't even be worth it. It's scotch tape.
That's all he had.
That's all he has. In what context?
How did you break your foot again? Said an annoyed James Rolfe, entering the room to hand Mike chocolate pudding, painstakingly hand-mixed at 5 a.m. as loudly instructed by the Michael Mesquite.
Can't believe I'm making fucking chocolate pudding for Mike Mattei at 5 in the morning.
On Christmas Eve.
That's what's cold in these episodes back.
Oh, it isn't broken. Mattei hopped up from his bed, his foot perfectly fine. James dropped the pudding, his sunken eyes closing partially as memories of all the trouble Mattei caused him that day came flooding back. Mike, James began, already blowing his stack. You told me at 3 a.m. on Christmas Eve that you were injured after you kicked a pizza boy in the head after he lightly scolded you for not tipping. I told you I would have to drive 40 miles in Christmas Eve traffic and your wife should be able to take care of you. And you said she was dead. Then I apologized for your loss and said your parents should be able to take care of you. And you said they were also dead. So then I once again apologized for your loss and encouraged you to consult your local pastor for personal counseling. And yet a goddamn again, you said that fucker was 6 feet under. Mike grew a genuine smile on his face and chuckled.
A smile?
Yeah.
What?
They totally aren't. The veins on James's head bulged as he continued. So I begrudgingly drove all the damned way over here to take care of you hand and foot. And every time I told you I wanted to spend Christmas Eve with my kids, you just twisted your brow and said, nah, man, nah, your kids suck. And I'll be honest, I was taken aback by such a bold and asinine statement, but I brushed it off due to the fact that you were hurt. But now, after hours of ranting with you about Sesame Street movies and using the blow tool in Photoshop to give April O'Neil a dick bulge in her pants, I can thoroughly say I fucking hate! Just then, James clenched his fist, his sides falling over as he let out a guttural scream in agony.
Okay, I've heard enough. The story's over. Where could it possibly go from here?
Why do you want April to have a wiener?
I don't, he does. They were chuckling about that.
James lay in the nerd hospital bed, having been through surgery in his hours prior. Mrs. Rolfe came into the room, kissing her husband and turning her attention to Mr. Mattei, who had in the hours prior tapped his foot impatiently and asked James when he was gonna take him to White Castle. Mike, my husband just suffered from an induced form of appendicitis. He was supposed to finish a nerd episode. He was supposed to finish a nerd episode in time for Christmas, but as you can see, he is no longer in any condition to do so. What I'm about to request of you, despite my better judgment, is that you do something a little out of character. I need you to help for once, said Mrs. Rolfe, staring daggers at Mike, whom continued to complain of his hunger pangs.
This already might be the greatest AVGN content, post-original AVGN of all time.
I need you to take this footage and take it to the Walker Brothers.
I changed my mind.
in
This no longer contains any value.
She handed Mike a flash drive. They'll know what to do to ensure a nerd Christmas special. Can you do this for me? Mike's eyes fall. Mike's eyes.
Whatever you say next, better let me swallow this water.
Mike's eyes fondled Mrs. Video Game Nerd as he pursed his lips and skis. For you, baby, I just might, said Mike Mahoney.
Mike Mahoney.
I'm crying a little bit. I swallowed my water.
Chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
He goes from being annoyed to looking up and being horny without like even passing what she had to say back to her.
Chapter 2. Mike Matei managed not to fuck up for once as he drove up to the Channel Awesome recording studio in Chicago.
I'm really unhappy this interaction is happening. This is cursed. Mike Matei cannot leave James Rolfe's basement.
They're states away! He drove them!
He walked up to the door and was greeted by Tamara. Yeah,
no.
Where's the nostalgia, dick? Matei intentionally flubbed. He'll be out shortly. No worries. Is it Tamara or Tamara?
Tamara.
Tamara answered. Just then, Malcolm came to the front door of the studio and blew into a large cordial trumpet. A breeze of cringe swept over Matei, making him slightly self-conscious as he turned his attention to the door. Tamara sighed. There he is now, the big ham. SFX, Miser Bros.
Oh, I should have known with the frickin' trumpet!
The big man himself, Doug Walker, came to the door, gat in hand.
Gat?
Yeah, his gat.
Oh, because he does that in the intro, he has the gun. Right.
I'm Mr. Bad Movies, I'm Mr. Gun.
Ah!
I'm Mr. Nostalgia, I'm Mr. Favorite Son. They call me Doug Walker, whatever I touch becomes controversial in my clutch. I'm too much. You have to edit that in later.
You guys better be in tune.
Tamara and Malcolm came out, waving canes and proceeding to repeat what had already been said. I never wanna see a film that's too good to be skeezed. I rather it just be just bad enough that I can nitpick it so the fans aren't displeased. Mike promptly left before he could hear the rest of the poorly rehearsed song.
Before you could hear the rest of the poorly rehearsed song.
Matei's standards were lower than the
Tamara and Malcolm are just like twirling their cane, going like, da-da-da-da-da-da, yeah.
I don't like the thought of Tamara and Malcolm being like a foot tall.
Compared to Nostalgia Critic, he's like 8'1". He barely fits into every door frame.
It's like, well, him and the Slender Man have similar fashion.
That's true.
I want to see the Slender Man wearing his stupid hat and a red tie.
To post that on the Twitter.
Matei's standards were lower than but he recognized poorly built props and painful vocal tones when he heard/saw them. Later, Matei drove up to the closest subsidiary of Channel Awesome, the Walker Bros household. Before he could even reach the front door, out stomped a heavy Chevy. A heavy Chevy of a man, Doug's big brother, Robert Walker.
Comes out in a wife beater and cargo shorts.
SFX Miser Bros karaoke theme.
Kicks the front door to their house down.
I'm Mr. Inferior, I'm Mr. Fat.
Poor guy.
I'm Mr. Foot Blister. I'm Mr. Killed My Cat. Rob then proceeds to do just that to Doug's new cat.
No! Doug's cat!
They call me Rob Walker. Whatever I touch loses all recognition in my clutch. I'm too much. Mike was about to hand off the flash drive. However, Rob stomped really loudly on the wooden deck of the porch as a power move and proceeded to interrupt him. I never want to take a shower and smell like Irish breeze. I'd rather just spray myself with copious amounts of Febreze.
You know, I didn't think you'd have any content for Rob Walker, but here he is doing his thing. Yeah, got it.
Mike, now fed up with the Walker's antics, proceeded to drive away, abandoning the only adult errand he's ever been tasked with. Chapter 3.
I'm Mr. Killed My Cat.
As he proceeds to do the same to Doug's cat. Is that real?
Doug has a new cat, but Rob didn't kill it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do live together, I'm sure. He'll ask Rob a couple times to feed it, and Rob will forget.
Mike Matei returned to the Rolfe household, ignoring his own home life as usual. James's wife greeted him as he barged in without knocking. Mike, did you get the footage to the Walker Bros? Mike's eyes darted side to side, the flash drive visibly jutting out of his crimson hoodie pocket. Yeah, Mike McCrap lied. Mrs. Rolfe narrowed her eyes angrily. Are you sure you got it to them safely? Yeah. Are you lying to me? Nah. You promise? Yeah. If I call the Walker Bros and ask them, will they say they got the footage from you? Yeah, ho. Mrs. Rolfe's face twisted into a wide frown. Alright, excuse me, Mike. She walked over to the phone and proceeded to dial up the Walker Bros. She returned very soon, screaming at the skis man. Mike! They said you came and just fucking left and proceeded to call me several obscenities because they couldn't do so to you. What the hell happened? Mike looked at her with a blank, lifeless smile. Man, isn't that a shame? And on Christmas Eve, too. Matei all the while lit a match, staring into it as if holding his own grave. Mrs. Rolfe cocked her brow before a strange scent filled her nostrils. She looked around suddenly, her eyes widening to the size of plates at what she witnessed. There lay a puddle of fluid trailing in from the front door. All around various parts of the room, right up Matei's leg and into a sopping wet hoodie pocket. James's wife then recognized the scent that she had detected. Gasoline.
What?
She darted her eyes over to Matei, who was no longer standing in front of her. The last thing she remembered seeing was that twisted, skeezy grin of his fogging up the window with his loud cackle. Mike Matei watched as the last embers of what used to be the Rolfe residence faded into smoke. He curled his mouth, unimpressed. I can't believe my dick was hard for that chick. She wasn't even flame retardant. She was just flame retarded. He cackled to himself.
Mike Matei.
Mike then drove away to go terrorize food at a local Denny's for Christmas. The end.
That was somber.
Oh my god.
You know how people, like, you know how sumos do the wide stance stomps, like the 1-2 on their left and right leg?
Yeah.
I rate it 3 stomps by Rob Walker when he comes out in his wife beater, like a sumo.
His power
Starts
moves.
the song. He does it in time with a song, so it's like bum bum bum.
The ground shakes.
I rated an 8-foot tall Doug Walker with an icicle chin.
I rated a 1-foot tall Tamara Chambers. Tamara's never seen the movie they're referencing, so she has trouble keeping up.
That's pretty good.
Tamara's never seen Mike Matei before. He didn't talk to either of them. He just witnessed them and left.
He did ask to see the nostalgia critic, but then when he saw it, he frowned and
He
left.
asked to see the nostalgia dick.
He tried to give Rob the flash drive, but he continued his song. He stomped his foot really loudly on the porch and then proceeded to sing.
And he abandoned his only ever adult Aaron forever.
James is in the hospital.
And his wife is burned down.
They're both dead.
James didn't die.
He's in the nerd hospital bed. In the nerd room. He burned with the rest of it.
Oh no.
Mike Matei killed people on Christmas.
His friends. Well, I can safely say Christmas has been ruined. But we appreciate you hanging along with us for the ride.
Oh my god.
Merry Christmas, family, and to all a good night.
And to all a good night.
And to